Blog Talk Radio.
It's time to go live on Spaced Out Weekend. Back in the haunted cabin of Spaced Out Studios is your host, James Tyson. You can tweet James at James Tyson SOR, Facebook him at Spaced Out Radio Show, or call him live at 1-607-203-5344. Now back in his crickety captain's chair, here's Spaced Out Weekend host, James Tyson.
Thank you, David. It is I on night 2 of Spaced Out Weekend up here on the 13th floor of the Spaced Out Radio Network, broadcasting from my crickety little old cabin located in the paranormal portals of the lower left Canadian coast. And tonight we have a geomancer, which is really cool. Gaylen Chauncey once told me if you could see what she saw every day, you wouldn't leave your house. And Gaylen is the founder of Ghost Hunters of Virginia and is the author of Ghost Stories, the make-believe in the Boogeyman Chronicles. Paranormal investigator for over 25 years. There are other things in the dark besides ghosts, and sometimes monster hunter is used to describe Gaylen. Labeled as a geomancer, which basically means she's a human EMF detector. It makes it easier for her to go hunting while she can actually feel the spirit energy. Sometimes when the hair on the goosebumps on the side of the arm, but man, I hate to go outside if I was Gaylen. She helps with hauntings because ghosts must move on and God is forgiven. They just got to learn to forgive themselves. What sometimes may feel like an evil experience may just be sad, frustrated, or an angry little spirit. Gaylen works with the good, the bad, and the ugly of paranormal, and the author of Make Believe in the Boogeyman Chronicles based on her own ghost and monster experiences. Gaylen believes in sharing information on the paranormal so we all can learn from each other. Even if it only helps one person, it's all worth it. But it does make it easier to go ghost hunting when you can feel there is nothing to fear from those wiggly little ghosts. A spirit photographer taking pics of ghosts, mist, and orbs she can see with her eyes. Researcher into anything paranormal. And I really mean anything. Gaylen, welcome back to Spaced Out Weekend. We missed you. You've been gone, what? I don't know, it's almost been a year yet? I can't remember.
Oh, thank you for having me back, James. I'm real happy to be back on the air with you.
Oh, it's good to have you back. And we're going to have to pretend that you've never been here before. And I'm going to nag you to kind of go through your history again, and which actually led up to you writing that book. When did you first realize that you were a little bit different than all the other kids skipping down the lane?
I guess, I hate to say it, but my earliest memories maybe around 6 or 7 years old. And they've always been in my life. So ghosts have always been in my life. And I didn't know what ghosts were, at that age, so it was really kind of hard to explain what they were. And it blew my mind that nobody could see them or feel them. So that is what... to watch somebody walk through one and not, I would watch my mom. It would just amaze me that she couldn't even feel what she was walking through.
So you could see them in your home and your mother would be walking right through them, and she, of course, had no idea they were there. And
no idea, yeah. There were so many of them, I guess as a child you don't know how to slow them down because there were just so many of them, and they didn't scare me, they bugged me because they were there all the time. And I noticed, I guess now you call it ectoplasm,
Yeah.
They would just leave like white streaks in the air, and it would, like a jet, stream, it would just dissipate after a few seconds. So I always thought that was wild looking, and I couldn't understand what it was.
Yeah, that would be a little bit creepy.
Mm-hmm. And
Sorry to cut you off. Do you have any siblings? Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I do have an identical twin sister. And, when people have paranormal experiences like this, especially when they're very young, and it was bad enough dealing with the ghosts, but like I said, there were other things in the dark besides ghosts. I saved her life, okay? But the only reason I was able to do that was actually a ghost saved my life. Okay, and it's just, but the experience scared her so badly that you cannot use the word paranormal in front of her. You can't use the word ghost. So with her, it scared her so badly she never wanted anything to do with them again, where I was the complete opposite. I wanted to know.
Oh, wow. And that's very common with people who are sensitive and beyond sensitive. Those who have psychic ability or people that are just open. They're very common to have a near-death experience.
And having and just scared to death. And her husband learned early on in their marriage that she was deadly serious, and so was I. When I said you cannot put her in a situation like that and don't mention the word ghost ever again, and she has a meltdown. That fear is so strong even after all these years. That fear just does not go away. Wow. And I think that's why some people really do have abilities, but were so freaked out by what they experienced that they just can't, they're just so scared of the unknown that they don't even want to think about it. So we are complete opposites. It turned her away, and it turned me right to it.
Yeah,
but I never wanted to see that fear in anybody ever again. Yeah, and I vowed I would help people.
Yeah, it's awkward where you came out of it one way and she came out of it the other way. And how are you going to explain, as you see these things around your home, and does she see them or just doesn't, like when you were a little one?
She sees them. Oh, she
just
them
ignores
too.
them?
Yeah, she ignores them. Just ignores them, And, the family, knew something had happened. I mean, they knew something had happened, and it wasn't, they just didn't believe in us. Didn't believe what we were seeing and what we were, what we were experiencing, but so many weird stuff that they couldn't explain what's happening. They couldn't explain it, and they knew that it wasn't us,
Yeah.
And so, but whatever had happened, you could not get my sister back into that house again. Okay, I mean, you could not get her in it. I mean, she just melted down whenever they tried to get us near that house. She just wouldn't go back inside of it ever again. So my family actually had to move because of that. Like poltergeist where you go to the hotel. Well, my family literally had to go to a hotel because they couldn't get her back inside the house. And I wasn't too happy about it either. And so I said, and it was very hard for me to explain to my mother, going, okay, I get the ghost thing. You explained it to me. Ghosts can't hurt you. They're, supposed to be transparent, and everything like that. But I went, well, what about the other things? There are other things in the dark. And this is the other things, the best way I can describe them is when I first saw one, I couldn't see it, okay? And I thought something was there, okay? I could feel it, but I couldn't see it until these pair of bright eyes showed up, okay? And what amazed me was the bodies were like part of the darkness. It was just really weird. You just could not, tell the difference. Okay. And then the eyes blinked. In my knowledge as a kid, only two things blinked their eyes, humans and animals. Do you see what I'm saying? I never noticed ghosts don't do that, and ghosts weren't they just didn't blink their eyes. So I was like, well, wait a minute, that's like a real physical being that's right there. And then when the second eyes appeared, and they blinked too behind the first set, I was like, wait a minute here. And I said, I'm dealing with something real. That I said, these things are alive. And when I stepped near it to investigate, you know how a dog shuffles its feet on the wooden floor trying to get away or slow down, and it's sliding everywhere? That's exactly what it sounded like, was doing that. And then when I turned on the light, there was nothing there. I mean, there was just no way out of the room. It was, but I could tell that when I took a step forward that I startled it, and it was shuffling its feet away, trying to get away. And I went, what?
That's what my feet sound like, trying to run from a ghost. How old were you when you...
That's what it was. I was probably around 10 or 11 when I experienced those things.
How old were you when you had the near-death experience?
Well, it wasn't really what I would call a near-death experience. What happened was I woke up in the middle of the night, and my sister was half off the bed. Okay. And I thought she had, I said, what are you doing? Because she was grabbing onto me. And she says, well, something's caught me and pulled me off the bed. And I laughed. I thought, you fell out of bed. Of course that's what she did. So I went to grab her and pull her back up on the bed. Well, when I went to grab her and pull her up on the bed, she didn't move an inch. Just like, something had a hold on her hard. So I went to grab her again and just really pull hard. And when I went to do that, she was jerked even further off the bed. And I could feel the ghosts gathering around us, and I could see some of them. So it was like this gathering all of a sudden. And I was like, does something really have my sister? And right then and there, she was jerked so hard that we were both pulled off the bed, okay? So by then, my foot is against the bed frame as trying to hold on to her, and I'm trying to use that to keep her from being pulled back. And I should have been scared, but my brain was trying to logically make sense of what I was seeing, okay? So I'm seeing my sister, and she's halfway gone, okay? I can only see her from the waist up where I have a hold of her. I can't see her from the waist down, okay? Round where her body was, where her legs were supposed to be, the floor was rippling like a lake. That was just the best description I can come up with, okay? And it was like her bottom half of her body was through the floor, okay? My brain is going, this is not possible. What am I looking at? Is that like, did the floor turn liquid or something? And it's almost like she fell in. And this woman appeared beside me, okay? And she looked down at me, and I only hear ghosts physically, only when my life is actually in danger. Okay, I swear that's the only time I hear ghosts is when I'm on the verge of dying. Okay, and they've saved my life each and every time. And she told me that I need to scream now. And I'm having this tug of war with my sister, and I'm losing. And I looked at her, because I said, well, why? And she said, scream now or you're going to be gone forever. And that's exactly what she said. And that's when I realized that we were in trouble, okay? And right then and there, this hand comes out from the rippling where my sister was and grabs her and starts pulling her down. And I just open my mouth and I scream this death curling scream, okay? When our bedroom door was open, it still didn't let go of Ricky, okay, until the light came on. And we went flying back off the floor. And we jumped on top of the bed, and you couldn't get us back on the floor again. We wouldn't get back on the floor again, Okay. So my dad's like, I'm having to carry you both out because we were screaming our heads off. And when he tried to get us out the bedroom door, ectoplasm completely covered up the bedroom door. And my sister looked at me, and I could just, the fear, you just don't know the fear of somebody. You see that? And I just told her to hold on, that they can't stop us. He got us through that bedroom door, and out the front door we went. And you couldn't get us back inside the house. I mean, not even the next day or the next day. I mean, it was, you could not get us back inside that house. And, you know, it, like I said, she almost, you know, and something told me that I don't know why the ghost didn't use the word dead. Okay? It was just something about the word gone forever that I did not like. Okay? You know, it just was really, really ominous. And that's when I knew that we were in trouble. And I just wasn't scared. Because when you're young, you don't know to be scared of this stuff. Does that make sense? You know, you don't know you're in trouble. You know, and that's what it was. So, you know, she was almost taken, and I wasn't going to let go of her. Okay, and if that ghost had not told me to scream, it would have taken us both through the floor. Where, I have no idea. I just don't know, you know, but that is my frustration of having to explain to my parents. They just didn't believe us, you know, and even though the fear was real, they just didn't believe us. And a situation like me, the problem is there's just a lot of ghosts everywhere, you know, so every place I was going, there were ghosts. Okay, and after that experience, I had to learn that, you know, to me, if there were ghosts around, those other things in the dark were around too. Okay, so it took me a few years to decipher that really just because a ghost wasn't around doesn't mean other things are there too. You know, but was it dangerous? Oh, yeah, I think that it was very dangerous, and I don't think it was more so our lives that were going to be in danger rather than our souls, you know. And so when I go ghost hunting, you know, I tell people to pay attention to what their kids are saying to them because, you know, there's a difference from being scared by something that is your imagination and being scared by something that's terrifying you, because I don't care, imaginary friend, well, I thought your imaginary friend was supposed to be your friend, okay, you know, and these things weren't my friends. And the ghosts, most of them could have cared less about me. And that's one thing I realized, they were just there, you know, and none of them helped, yet that one woman did. So it was like, well, why didn't the others care? Why would they have let happen if this woman hadn't stepped in and said what she said to me? You know, if she hadn't said that, we wouldn't be here today.
Gaylen, if you could like think back at this, has that woman or that female ghost ever come to you since then?
No. The ones I've heard that, you know, that actually, you know, might save my life are different ghosts that come to help me when I'm in danger. So they're always a different ghost. It's never the same one. I don't know who she was, you know, but because she helped me, you know, that's why I helped the ghosts. Why I'm monster hunting. Does that make sense? You know, I helped them toward the light because a ghost helped me, you know, and then the ghost didn't have to help me. Because I tell people a lot of ghosts are really selfish. You know, they're only thinking really of themselves only, and I said, you know, you just got to talk matter of factly to them and tell them just to move on to the light and get a new life. You know, and you know, because they're not helpful to me. You know, I'm very good about picking up electronic voice phenomena. It's not something. It's one of my least favorite things to do because I get so many of them. It's splicing and cutting and pasting the audio, you know, into, you know, from an hour to, you know, 5 minutes. Okay. So it's, you know, I don't understand why they do that. But sure, great. They want to talk, that's wonderful. But they are no help to me. They never answer any questions I have. What's it like to be in spirit form? Are there other doorways? Do you know of other things, in the dark besides the ghosts? And it's nothing. It's always cryptic messages, So to me, I just kind of help them move on toward light. But as for helping me out, I don't know whether they won't answer those questions or whether they just don't know.
They may not know. If they haven't crossed over, they're still wandering around kind of on this plane.
Exactly,
Don't really know. And I think the ones that will know, the ones that have helped you in times that, where you're in danger, they may not really be ghosts. That could be like your guides coming through.
Exactly. I always, everybody, have had a lot of people ask me, do you think it's angels? And I said, it could be. I said, I don't know for sure. I go to places like, I don't know if you've heard of it, but there are places, all over the world that are energy places. There are places called the Oregon Vortex. It's a place in Oregon where it's an area where energy, basically Einstein visited and said the energy bends there. Okay. So Bermuda Triangle is the most famous one. I've flown over it 4 times and sailed over it 4 times. And, yes, I was not sane nor sober at the time, but I was out on the deck with my camera just hoping something would happen. I'm just one of those people. Okay.
Yeah.
But I go to these places hoping that maybe they have answers to why this doorway exists. How can, what I saw happen in the floor, how can doorway exist? But one thing with me being like an EMF reader, when I went to these places, knocked my butt down. I mean, it knocked my butt down. There was so much energy in these places that immediately my head was splitting in two, and I had motion sickness so bad I couldn't even think in the place. And there's several of them. There's a Mystery Hill over here in West Virginia. There's another one in North Carolina. I went to the one in Oregon Vortex, trying to learn about these places because it seems like there's a lot of ghostly activities around areas like this. So I actually go hunting in these places, and I made a mistake of checking these places out thinking, hey, it's something I might be able to learn something, and I found one thing, I just feel like crap, I can't be near these areas. They just really mess with my senses so bad I can't even think straight. It was really weird. So I thought, hey, let's check them out.
It would be. We're gonna come back with more from Gaylen Chauncey. Now you can go to her website, which is theafterlifegoeson.com. It's with the Virginia ghost hunters, and they've got a lot of. Did I just say Virginia ghost hunters?
Yeah.
Anyway, they've got a lot of photographs on there of almost what Gaylen was talking about with that kind of contrail that's left as something goes by, and some of the other things that they have. And we'll be, again, right back right after this.
Mm-hmm.
Want to find out what's coming up on the Spaced Out Radio Network? Go to spacedoutradio.com, where you can find our daily list of shows and guests appearing throughout the week. Want to tell us your story? Be sure to sign up for the Spaced Out Forum for free. Maybe you have a psychic question. Drop in and say hi to Catherine in Cat's Corner. spacedoutradio.com, your 24-hour source for UFOs, ghosts, conspiracies, and more. Check it out today.
Is the 24-hour world starting to wear you down? Let me from Rivulet Reiki and Readings lend you a hand. Hi, this is Jolene, and if you're in need of Reiki or a room reading, come to my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr, and let us help you out. At Rivulet, I specialize in healing your body, mind, and soul, no matter where you are. And be sure to check out the Rivulet R&R Facebook page for your best deals. Remember, it's time for you to make some time for you.
Are you one of many who's had a UFO or ET experience? Listen up. The AZ UFO show is on every Sunday night at 7 on the Spaced Out Radio Network. We talk about UFO sightings across the globe, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, and more with me, Rich Giordano. I want you to know what's going on in the skies above you, so tune in to the AZ UFO show on Spaced Out Radio Network, on spacedoutradio.com, right before Spaced Out Weekend. Our show is literally out of this world.
The sky is the limit on Spaced Out Radio. Hi there, this is Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio. Join me live every Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern for news, reviews, and updates on what's happening in the realms of UFOs, paranormal, supernatural, conspiracy, and more. Find it all at spacedoutradio.com, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Spaced Out Radio. Listen in soon.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Spaced Out Weekend broadcasts on the Spaced Out Radio Network. You can follow James and other shows at spacedoutradio.com. Don't forget to join our free forum. Now here's the paranormal guru, weekend host, James Tyson.
Welcome back, everybody. We are with Gaylen Chauncey, or Chauncey. I always want to go Chauncey Gardner because that was a Peter Sellers character in a movie called Being There a long time ago. It's the only Chauncey name I've ever known. But Gaylen Chauncey is my new one. Now, Gaylen, you were describing what happened to you and your twin sister when you were little. She was being pulled literally under the bed, and you were grabbed onto her and tried to pull her back through the floor. As an adult, looking back, where do you think, and with all the experiences you had, where do you think you would have gone if you went through the floor?
Well, over years of research, you learn about, like, other dimensions, other places, okay? And I believe that that's what this thing was doing. But in the years as being any paranormal investigator, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, you've learned that ghosts are attracted to the energy of the soul, okay, of a person, all right? And I hate to say it, and I don't want to sound morbid, but this is what I've come to believe, and I think this is why my sister was so scared, was basically, I think it was taking her to eat her soul. Okay, and I think that's why that ghost, that lady, said that if you do not scream now, you will be gone forever. She didn't use the word you would die or anything like that. She said you would be gone forever. So I think that's what it was after. And I think that she, luckily woke me up, and I had decided that if this thing was taking her, because it was winning, it was winning the tug of war, I decided that I wasn't going to let go of her. I wasn't going to leave her. She needed me, and I wasn't going to leave her. And then for that lady to appear beside me, it wasn't so much that she appeared. I was used to that. It was the first time a ghost had ever spoken to me. So I was so shocked to hear one speak. I never heard him talk before. So it's something I cannot do. I cannot hear them unless it's just really I'm in danger. And that was the first time she spoke to me. And I was shocked. And I was like, huh? But I believe that's what it was about, because my research into missing children led to stories that were like mine, okay, that children experienced before they really did disappear. It was scary to find out that I wasn't alone, that this did happen to their children, and I said, well, I'm going to write this book, and the book is based on these experiences. The story's made up, but I wanted a manual for kids and adults to understand that you can protect yourself. Just watch out for the signs, and this is what you do, and this stuff really can happen. And the more I learned, the more I wanted to help, and get people to understand. And most of my clients, they are very embarrassed to ask me for help. I mean, very embarrassed. And they're embarrassed to ask for a paranormal investigator to be in their home. They've had to come to terms that maybe they're dealing with something that's paranormal, and to get somebody like me in their home I understand where they're coming from. I really do. And most of them want to keep it secret. I get a lot of clients that see my videos and pictures, and they're like, I've seen exactly what you have. I'm experiencing the same thing. And they ask for my help, and a lot of times they think I have the answers right then and there. My job really is to make sure it's not dangerous. Because we get a lot of ghosts, but doesn't mean that they're dangerous. And to help people deal with places that are dangerous, because there's some places that just shouldn't be existing, and they do. For me, that's very sensitive, and it amazes me how I can come across a home, and I'm amazed that the people are still living in it. And I don't see how they do it. I just don't see how they do it. I guess because they can't feel like I can and see what I can see. So,
how do you block it, Gaylen?
I had to learn as a kid, and I didn't know how, because they were interfering with my everyday life. Just interfering, distracting me, and more than anything else. So as a child, I learned how to build a brick wall, and I would build it brick by brick, because at my age, there were no force fields or anything like that. It was just, that's how you built a wall. So I would just put bricks up, and I would keep them at bay. I had to, because they would really interfere and distract me while I'm trying to do my job or going to school, and I can't be watching them when I need to be paying attention to what maybe the teacher is saying or to my job. And I've learned to do that over the years. I've gotten better at it because they really are attracted to me. It's just something... people like my husband over the years, ectoplasma will just start appearing, in the dishes and in the counters, open up the cupboards, and there's just ectoplasma, it's just goo all over the dishes and stuff, and got to wash everything. And my husband's like, you got to get your walls back up and around the house when your walls are down. So he's even learned over the years, when the weird stuff starts happening, he needs to remind me that I need to put my walls back up to keep it at bay, because he's been freaked out by a lot of stuff, and he's always believed, but he truly believes now, because when you're experiencing it with me, and I'm telling you, I want you to grab this camera or this video camera, and I tell him to hold the camera for a minute, and there's a ghost around, and he looks back at the video, and he caught it himself. So when you have people around you that are picking up evidence, and they're with you, and they're like, that wasn't there. And I'm like, well, it really was there. You didn't see it with your eyes, but the video camera caught it. Or the pictures did.
You told me once before that you almost every time.
James, okay.
Did you hear me?
Okay, now you're back. Okay.
Alrighty. You told me once before that every time you took a photograph, there was something out of the ordinary in it.
There is, yeah. And I just added some more pictures. I had gone up to Waverly Hills to do a quick 2-hour investigation, and I had to show pictures going, well, this one is people actually in the pictures. And I said, the problem is they weren't there. They weren't people. They were ghosts, So
really?
Yeah. So I had to do pictures going.
Sorry, Gaylen, where was that investigation?
This one was in the Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Kentucky. Yeah.
Lovely.
And, and it's not a joke when I'm like, okay, I go there for 2 hours and I walk out with 30 EVPs, and this is no joke. I don't mean to get that many. I really don't even want that many, because the more there are, the more work is for me to do. Okay, pictures are a lot easier. Okay,
yeah,
because they're visual and you can go through them a lot faster.
Delegate, Gaylen, delegate.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't mean to, but it happens, and, I would love to go into one of these real famous haunted castles with one of these, real serious ghost hunters and do an investigation with people like that around me, because I feel like a lot of times I'm having to prove myself that I'm not faking this evidence, and I don't like that. I shouldn't have to prove myself and to bring somebody with me, so they're there with me with a recorder and going, it's right, it wasn't fake. This really happened when she's around, and I've had some ghost hunters that have learned that they laugh because they're like, you don't take any equipment. You have a video camera, a voice recorder, and a digital camera. That's all you take. And they're saying the reason why is because ghosts come to you. You don't need to set up 10 cameras in a home, hoping to catch something. I just need to feel where the ghosts are and keep the equipment running. Yeah, and that's where I have an advantage of being basically an EMF reader. I can find the ghost. If I know where it's at, we're going to have a better chance of getting some kind of evidence that it's there.
Yeah. Now, I guess the people on your crew, they've learned that, if we stand too close to Gaylen, poop's going to hit the fan. But do they kind of follow you and take pictures of what maybe what's around you, or if you get a feeling that there's something close, then you just mention it and they'll spin around and take some pictures of you?
Yeah, actually, that's what they do. Because I've trained them. I said, if I say take pictures there, I want everybody's cameras going, because the more chance of not just my camera, but somebody else's camera picking it up too, or the video camera. So I've got them all trained going, if I say take pictures over there, don't hesitate, take pictures now, because that is our best chance. But that's my job in the team. To point out where the ghosts are. Okay, everybody has their particular job, but I've trained them to do that, and it amazes me that I love it when people are with me and they experience seeing something for the first time. I mean, really for the first time, and they're like, "I just saw it, but I wasn't fast enough with the camera," because they're not used to being that quick yet. So it really amazes me to watch them, just their eyes get really large and big and going, I actually saw something, and I thought I was fast, but I was so amazed by what I was seeing, my brain was slowed down on picking up the camera. And I tell them, no matter how much experience I have, if I see something so fast, I'm going, wow. And then I'm like, oh, camera, after fact. Which is a lot of times it's too late. So I said, I know that feeling, and it just blows my mind. I'm working one of my cases from Penn State. Penn State was 20 years ago, 25 years ago, was one of the only, colleges that recognized the paranormal. Okay, they had a parapsychology department. So actually that case was brought up because it was one of the first succubus cases that the college ever had to deal with, and it was one of my case files. Okay, so you're talking years have gone by and just getting together the original owners of the home, okay, and going and having to dig up case files. So I dig up my case file, and I'm talking to the owner, and at the time, and this was years ago, it doesn't own a home anymore. Sometimes when you're doing an investigation, when somebody's very scared by what's in their house, okay, and you realize that there is something to be scared of in their house, sometimes you don't tell them while you're doing an investigation all your experiences because they're already scared enough. Given is not telling them what happened during an investigation is not going to make them less or more scared. You know, you just decide to leave it out. Well, I had forgotten about that. And so I'm sitting here talking to him, and we're going over the case. And I had told him what had happened. What happened was I went to investigate inside his house, and I walked into a parlor, okay, and I was looking through my notes, getting ready for an investigation, and I heard this scratching. I didn't pay much attention to it at first until it got really loud, and I'm talking like scratching like fingernails almost, you know, going down chalkboard sounding, okay? So I realized that the sound was coming from the fireplace, right? So I'm like, well, what? So I get near the fireplace, and I kind of, you know, look inside of it a little bit, you know, and the scratching stopped, and I went, well, that's kind of weird. So I'm going back through my notes again. Now, this happened so fast that I didn't even have time to react whatsoever. And out of my side of vision, I see what looked like impossibly long, solid black, and I mean impossibly long fingers snake out of the fireplace chimney, grab my wrist, actually physically make contact with my wrist for a second. It's almost a burning sensation, okay? It let go of me and whipped up the fireplace chimney so fast, okay? At the time, I decided not to tell the owner that had happened because he was, like I said, was scared enough. Well, years later, when I was telling him about it, I was reading it, forgetting that I didn't tell him about it, and I look up, and his eyes are big as saucers, and I'm going, what? And he goes, I cannot believe you never told me that. And I went, well, no, because I said I forgot at the time. I didn't tell you. And he goes, he grew up in this house, and he said for years he'd been hearing the scratching coming from the fireplace. He even had the fireplace cleaned, checked for animals. Nothing was ever found. When he was 15 years old, the fireplace had been destroyed by lightning and had to be rebuilt. So he never thought the scratching was paranormal until I told him what had happened. He had never told me that. And he just freaked. And this, you know, just going over a case that was 20 years old. You know, wow. And he was amazed about it. Yeah, that house sells about every 3 years. So I keep an eye on it. You know, it always sells way below market. And you know, so when you're talking about cases that I hold on to that something I might have learned from a case 20 years ago might help something for a case in the future, but we were just updating this case for Penn State was all we were doing. But I had forgotten that I did not tell him my experience in a house with that fireplace, and he never thought the fireplace was paranormal. I've been hearing that scratching for years. I was like, all right, your house was haunted, and there something was weird up the chimney. Yeah.
No, it's a squirrel with really long black fingers that grabbed you.
I don't know how I couldn't run away from that house. I had to stop myself, you know, because I realized I couldn't run out of the house screaming and terrifying the owner, because for ghosts to make physical contact is such a rarity, you know, and actually touch me. But the message was quite clear. Yes, the fireplace is yours and you can have it. I had no qualms about it, you know. It was like, you know, just stay away from the fireplace.
Now, do you think the energy that did that, was that a ghost or was that something darker?
I think it was a ghost, okay. Some ghosts, okay, imagine that you know how you take, like that show Naked and Afraid, you put somebody in the wilderness and after so long they're wild men, okay, they're just surviving. That is, to me, what a ghost is. If they don't move on toward the light, they're not supposed to be in this form, in this dimension now. Okay, it's supposed to be through the light to another, the doorway or whatever to heaven. And it's a survival thing. They're just surviving here. That's all they're doing is just surviving. Yeah. And after a while, I think that they become almost like wild men, less human, and it's a shame because they really slowly are dying, and losing everything and just won't move on. But I think a lot of it has to do is, they just won't forgive themselves for mistakes, okay? Because in my view, with, that lady ghost saving me, there was God, there was good, there was love, and to me, that's, convinced me how real that was. Okay, and so it's a good lesson to learn as a kid. Even though I was in all these terrible experiences and not understanding them, I had that experience and taught me there was good in the world because my parents couldn't help me; they couldn't save me. And the guardian angel, whatever they want to call them, I just believe that that's true.
Yeah. What's the like when you do have an experience like that, something a little bit spookier where there's contact made, but I think we talked once about things that you've seen. Just like, could you describe for the listener what types of things that you've actually seen with your own eyes and floored you?
Okay. Like I said, the reason why I investigate these doorways, because I don't think they're always just spirits, okay? Because remember, like I said, those creatures with the glowing eyes. Well, I saw something that, it was scaly, okay? All right, it almost looked almost like a lizard, okay? And but it had a flat face, just a squashed up flat face. And what surprised me was it had like tools on, a tool belt and everything. And that's when I knew that it couldn't be an animal because it was kind of like wearing clothes. All right. But it was like a flash of light. It was there, and in a flash of light, it was gone. Okay, and so I went, well, that one was intelligent looking. I said, okay, it was, a squashed up alligator or whatever you want to call it. But then I've seen creatures that look human. You would think were human. Okay, except for they're completely white, no hair whatsoever, no clothes that I can see. Okay. Round red eyes, and I swear it was had suction cups on the end of its fingers, okay, and it was eating, food off the ground, and I didn't know what that was, but to me that looked more like it was more wild. So because, like I said, no clothes, nothing I've seen like that before. And it's almost like, I don't know, it's like, to me, the little dark ones, it seemed like they knew how to get in and out. It seemed like these other ones were kind of like surprised I could see them, okay, and just zapped out so quickly, like, surprised I actually could witness them and realizing, you make eye contact and it's, the one that was eating the dead animal on the ground just took off running. Okay, so it.
So again, sorry, Gaylen, it was eating like roadkill or something.
Yeah. Yeah. When I didn't know what it was, and to me it looked like a person. So of course I approached it because I thought that's what it was. I don't scare very easily, and so I would just approach things I didn't know what they were, especially when I can sense that there was like really no immediate danger, because everybody puts off an energy, all right, and it was more like running across maybe a wild dog kind of energy more than, whether it was dangerous, but I was curious, and then I got closer to it, and it freaked out when it saw me and took off, and I was like, but the alligator person, I don't know what he was, but he was only about 4 feet tall, but he looked pissed. I I really could tell that he was, I got the impression that he was mad, but he was like a flash of light. He was there in a flash of light. He was gone. I was like, okay, what just happened?
That's, it's probably like he had work to do, and he wasn't anticipating you actually could see him, and it's like, oh, damn it.
I don't know,
So it was,
just don't know.
When you say it was like kind of an alligator, was it like standing on 2 legs, or?
Yes, it was standing on 2 legs, and it held some, I could say it had some kind of rod in its hand too, and literally when this light appeared, it was like a flash of light, like a beam of light that hit the ground, but this thing stepped out of the light, okay? I mean, that's like it was its ride or something, and then when it saw me, it just stepped back into the light, and the light just disappeared. So it was almost like it was, it like knew how. I really believe there are other dimensions. There has to be, and that there are other life forms in other dimensions. Some of them are intelligent, some of them are not, and like everywhere else, some of them are nice, and some of them are not so nice. And, with my sister, that was, there's a difference between some of these creatures that, to me, are real, okay, where the ghosts are spiritual. I know that sounds weird, but that really is what it's like.
Gaylen, not on this show it doesn't. Nothing sounds weird on this network. But
most things I do encounter to me are real, like you and me. But I can tell the difference between the ghosts, and ghosts are just either they're solid black mist or they're solid white mist or orbs, and then sometimes they look like people, and that's when I get pictures going, all right, people. And I'm like, and they were right there, just a couple of feet behind me. I'll do it. And I'm going, and they're pretty close to me, and there was nobody there that I can vouch for. We were by ourselves, and I'm going, okay, well, this is pretty cool. And this is where I get my ghost stories ideas. I like to, I think it's because it's a way for me to get rid of my fear, is create ghost stories, and to share the boo. I'm the kind of person that once you read my story, I want you to double check underneath the bed. I want you to leave that light on. I want you, to have this experience that it's like a roller coaster ride, that really just is a rush and gives you that scare. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm trying to share what I experienced. Yeah. And I may be brave and I can control my fear. I'm over the years I've gotten really good at it because I have years of practice, and that gets me in the hand. It's like you tell everybody, it's not something I just started doing. It's something that I had to learn all by myself. There was no internet, there were no books, that were really out there and that could explain to me what was going on. And my vouching that when I got older I was going to prove that they were real and it wasn't my imagination. Both my parents are deceased. Now they know I wasn't lying, but, it's just, at the time they just couldn't understand, and it was very angry and frustrating. Then I had a twin sister that was falling apart whenever a ghost came near us after that.
Yeah.
So she just was no help to me anymore. And I had my younger sister. She had experiences, but she told me once that, she goes, "You were lucky, Gaylen." I was like, "What do you mean I was lucky?" She goes, "You weren't scared and we were." And I was going, I said, I was scared, but I was the oldest sister, and I was expected to protect everybody. I didn't have a choice. You all were terrified, and that was my responsibility as your older sister to protect you, and I was scared. I just had to act like I wasn't, so you guys would be okay.
One of the people in our chat room right now had a visit a few months back, and she had a male and a female skeleton, like showing up dancing in her bedroom. Is that something you would possibly have bumped into, or is that a question you'd probably want to ask a psychic almost, or a spirit medium to find out what the heck that was?
I don't know what it does. I do know one thing, that when I was younger, me and my friends were playing out, we lived up where a park was where all these woods were. And there were the remains of an old house there, okay? And it had been burnt down many years prior to that. And we were messing around with it, and we weren't supposed to because it was dangerous. And there was a door, like a front door laying on the ground, okay? So one of my friends went over there, and she went to pick it up, and I don't know why they were picking it up, and all of a sudden I had this terrible feeling, and I said, I don't want you to pick it up. And when they picked it up, it was the first time that I saw a skeleton, a full-body skeleton underneath the door. I screamed and ran all the way home, okay, and got my dad out there because I was crying and very upset because to me it was like a body. Even though it was skeleton, it was still a body. Yeah. And they left the door and there was nothing there. And that was the first and only time I've seen a skeleton. So, yes, I have seen one time a skeleton ghost or whatever, and like I said, I thought it was real. So that's why I went and got my dad, and dancing around, I don't know about that, and I can believe it, but I've seen something like that myself.
Yeah, it like when I had my, I ended up after a paranormal investigation bringing, had a Klingon, had something come home with me, and I had to literally get a hold of my spirit medium the next day and say, okay, so what was this? And then she connects and says, oh, yeah, you brought one of the guys home from the dealy-do, and this is how you're going to have to get rid of it. But I don't know about if our Mexican skeletons, I'll have to ask, too. She says there are Mexican skeletons. I don't know if skeletons of people from Mexico look different from skeletons. Oh, I know. They probably had Mexican hats on.
Day of the Dead.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
And ghosts, a ghost, for it to really make itself known that you can see it takes a lot of energy. It's not something easy to do, and it's energy that they can't get back, okay, because they're always starving. All ghosts are parasites. They just are losing energy. Their body is gone, so there's no way to hold it in place, all right? And so no matter how much they drink up, they can't make up for the amount they're losing a day. And so for a ghost to actually show themselves, let themselves be heard, or anything like that, does take energy. And They really want themselves, so if they're showing themselves to me or to anybody else, they really want to be known. And a lot of times, like you know, I've had the same thing where they try to follow me home, but nothing's allowed inside my house, rarely. The only thing that gets past my radar are really just something that's a very good ghost, okay, that is very sweet and doesn't, you know, want to cause any kind of problems. Is really the only thing that can get past my defenses in my house. It's just something that rarely happens with me. And but usually when I leave a place, they don't follow me. You know, it's just, you know.
What are the defenses you have in your house?
Well, okay, you know, I go back way with salt and holy water, okay, and what I do is every entrance is sealed, because the thing with blessing a house is you don't want to bless a house while the spirits are inside the home, okay, you got to get rid of them first, you know, you want them outside the home. So something I've always done, my energy is, a lot of people don't realize it's my defense mechanism, okay? You know, I may attract a lot of ghosts because of my energy, but I also, you know, it's something I don't come across, but something I can use to protect myself, too. Anything that dares even try to invade my space, you know, will be threatened, and I will hurt anything that comes near me. So it's not a question of, you know, basically, do you want to live? I know you're a ghost, but do you want to live?
When you threaten them, what do you threaten them with?
Then my energy, I tell them to back off. What it is here is a ghost a long time ago taught me how to do it, you know, and just how to just almost conjure up your energy around you, okay? And what happens here, if a ghost gets too near me that I feel like it's dangerous, I'll just burst out this energy, and it pushes them away from me. It actually will push them away, and they'll leave me alone. And it's so weird because when I do it, you can tell that it's almost like I hit them.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're, you know, I can see them fall back. So when they come near me, and when, you know, and I have to push against it with my energy, it's like when I push against them, they fly back and hit the wall, and you just see the look of surprise on their face because they aren't expecting it.
Okay, I'm going to hold that thought because I'm going to come back after this break. I want to talk a little bit more about using the energy to push these things back or push them off if they're like on top of you, pulling you down in the bed kind of thing. That whole thing. And again, I'd like to say hello out there to everybody from Paranormal Into the Night and the Paranormal Forum. And we're going to come back and probably open the lines up for you to ask Gaylen some questions too right after our break.
This is Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio. We will get you back to Uncle Jimbo James Tyson and Spaced Out Weekend in just a moment. But right now, I wanted to remind you that Spaced Out Radio broadcasts Monday through Friday at this exact same time, 10 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern, where we will be discussing the latest happenings from UFOs to Bigfoot. Join us, will you? Spaced Out Radio. Let us be a part of your journey.
Ready to find out what's flying up in the sky? Me too. Hi there, this is Rich Giordano. Please join me every Sunday night at 7 for the AZ UFO Show. It's a fast and compelling 2-hour show on UFOs, extraterrestrials, conspiracy theories, and much more. Every week we will have great guests and great topics to try and answer the ultimate question, are we alone in this universe or not? So tune in to the AZ UFO Show with me, Rich Giordano, right here on the Spaced Out Radio Network at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit's Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Story Box. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hi there, this is Jolene with Reveal It Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings, no matter where you are. Spaced Out Radio listeners will also receive 10% off their first visit. It's time for you to make time for you.
The Spaced Out Radio Network can be found at spacedoutradio.com. Hi there, this is Dave Scott. Here you can join the latest on our weekly shows and news from around the world involving UFOs, cover-ups, cryptids, ghosts, and more. Read articles from our very talented staff and check out our weekly tarot card reading from Psychic Catherine. You can also sign up for free on our forum and tell us about your experiences. SpacedOutRadio.com. Always live, always interactive.
Do you have a guest or a topic you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Weekend with James Tyson? You can email us at james@spacedoutradio.com with your idea. And now back to our weekend paranormal warrior. Here's James Tyson.
Thank you, everybody, for dropping in tonight to Spaced Out Weekend. And tonight we are talking with Gaylen Chauncey. She is a monster hunter. She's a ghost hunter that just sees monsters. Part of the Ghost Hunters of Virginia. And you can go to her website and look around on there. And I think I put it up in the chat room. But it is what, Gaylen? What is your website? Hold on. Say it one more time out loud.
It's www.afterlifegoeson.com.
Afterlifegoeson.com.
Yeah.
Sounds like a paranormal group that, you know, a website that you'd go to once you die. Afterlife, www. Afterlife goes on. So when you do die, please drop into this website and haunt it for us.
And
lovely.
Some evidence, yeah.
Hey, if anybody out there wants to ask Gaylen a question, just call in to 607-203-5344 and press 1 on your phone. Little blue light lights up under the moose antlers, and I'll know that you would like to come on and ask Gaylen a question. And trust me, she's full of it. Full of answers. Off air, we were talking about this, the way she hunts down her haunted abandoned homes, and we're not going to tell you about it because it's she's going to get herself into trouble. They're going to find you out there. You're either going to bump into some homeless person or one of these things is going to grab you and take you up the chimney.
Yeah, I know. I know.
And it won't be Santa Claus, I tell you, young lady. Do you find, Gaylen, that certain times of the year are a little more active than not?
No, not really. Okay, it seems to me it doesn't matter what time of the year it is. I like in the wintertime, I hate the cold. Okay, so I just don't go out in it as much as I do during the spring and summertime. Okay, I just don't do as much investigating. Spend most of my time just doing research during that time. But I've never known ghosts any difference. Even during daytime and nighttime, I don't notice a difference. Okay, so to me, going and checking a haunting during the daytime, I get just as much evidence as I do at night. You know, and see just the same amount.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people think, that you have to go at night, but they're around 24/7. So you know, night the only and that you have to turn lights out. That's the other thing. Oh, we've got to go to this house and we'll turn off the lights. Why?
And well, I say one thing is the people, they're like, well, it's more active at night, and I said, well, it's because you all are home. I said, the more that the people are in the home, you know, that live there, actually is when the activity will go up. because it's the most energy.
Yeah.
So people get home in the evenings, well, that's when they notice it, because really that's when they're home. Yeah, yep. They're at work all day and everything like that, and they all get home and they're like, well, I'm noticing the ghost. So that's why it seems like it happens more at night than it does during the daytime.
Yeah, they're probably just, they're probably dancing all day. They're dancing in the bedrooms all day, and then you come home at night and go, oh, there's skeletons in my bedroom. It must be at night.
And they have no idea.
And then you get into that whole theory of, between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, everything's more active. And if you start talking to demonologists, it's because it's the opposite of when Christ was crucified. By whose watch, I don't know. But so it's awkward. Like there's all these different theories, and lately everybody, it's all kind of, everything's a demon depending on what your religious background ends up being.
And to me, and this sounds strange, but of all the people, I don't believe in demons. Okay, to me, spirits are spirits. They're spirits of people, and they can be evil and they can be good. Okay, to me, these demons, these monsters, are real. Okay. So being taught what a demon was, a spiritual creature, the opposite of an angel, okay? But in my world, the ghosts are the spirits, and they're good ones, and bad ones. But to me, the monsters that are out there, they're physically real. Don't see them as spiritual beings. I just see them as real creatures that either dimension jumping, or however they're doing it. So a lot of times what people might think are demons, to me, it's just another species that we don't know what it is. It's like Bigfoot.
And my theory when it comes to you is like there are people out there like you who can see these things. And it's a minority of people that can see these things. So you get things like Mothman. People have seen Mothman and all describe him as being the same thing. But you could get 5 people standing there, but only one of them sees him.
Exactly.
So are those people like you seeing something maybe for the first time because something's going to happen, or it's a I won't say precursor, but it's a predetermination, or not. It's one of those things that happens before something bad happens. It's and that's what that person's now their gift or curse or however you want to put it. But they're now seeing this because they have the capability of doing it, where the majority of the people don't. And that could go for the New Jersey Devil or whatever it is. Any of these cryptids that are running through the forest that some people can see, but you send a group out there to look for it, you won't see them. They have been bouncing back and
frustrating.
forth.
It is, and it's very frustrating, especially explaining something that you've never seen, and you're trying to describe it, and you're going, but there's, I'm trying to do the best reference as possible, but I've never seen anything like it before. So I'm doing my best to try to reference what it looks like. So for a lot of us, we're like, what is that? So it's kind of hard for us to describe something that we've never seen before. It's new to us, too, and we're going, and we're trying to piece it together, and by the time we're done, it sounds like a monster, and it's just a generic term that I give them. It's the cryptoid monsters, whatever everybody lists them as. Spiritual, to me, is more dangerous, in a way, okay, because people can turn really dark, all right, and very evil, okay, and so I encounter more like when I'm dealing with something that's dangerous, it's more on the spiritual side, of the sense of the evilness and the anger I feel from somebody, that's in spirit form. I feel that more than I ever had from any one of these monsters. What grabbed my sister, I don't know. But do I think that her soul would have been eaten and mine too? Yes. Okay, so that was dangerous. Okay.
Yeah, and that was the gut feeling that you got from it.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
There's another person. Actually, she's on a TV series called The Dead Files now. Amy Allen is a psychic, but she's been on a number of things too. Where when she's open and she goes onto the property, she'll say there are things surrounding us in the edge of the woods, and the person filming her with her says, "What do you see?" And she describes them as either being spirits of American Indians, or she says they're something from the land. I can't explain. They're about 10 feet tall, and they don't like me being able to see them. She'll describe stuff like that. Now, Amy, I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy. He's unfortunately he's passed, or I have him on the show. William Roll. He was a psychologist and parapsychologist at the University of West Georgia, and he passed in around 2012. And he's a German guy, and he kind of mentored Amy through this, when she was younger, because she was, seeing shadow people and tormented when she was a kid, a little about 4 or 5, and but she sees these things like you do, but she actually has to open herself up, do what the psychics do, and it's one of those things that, like I say, there are some people that can see them and some people can't. Now, Amy's one of the people that actually opens herself up and unblocks herself so she can see these type of things, where in your case it's just all over the place.
Yeah, and it's the difference between her and me is I can see him, but I don't take in the emotions, you know what I mean? I can just sense the danger, you know what I mean? Just if something's putting off, it doesn't like me. Okay, and I can feel that, all right? I've had them, maybe she's had them, where I can see that they were surprised I could see them. Okay, it really is, when the shadow thing stops and backs away from you because you are acknowledging its existence. And I've had them do that to me where it was shocked. So I always wonder, what was it doing approaching me in the first place? And then it stopped approaching me and backed off when I acknowledged that I could see it. Okay? Well, what was it doing, trying to get near me for? But then once it realized it knew I could see it, it backed off. And that's happened on more than one occasion. Yeah. And I'm like you. It's sometimes they are not happy that I could see them and sense that they're there. So to me, I've always gotten this feeling, and I always do, that they look at me as a threat. Okay? I've had people that were psychic that go to a haunted place and whatever, and they would just go, "I've never seen it happen before." And I go, "What?" They said, "I've never seen a ghost run from somebody." And I've had more than one psychic see that orb or something went near me and just took off running as soon as I got into a room, that it was gone. They said they've never seen that before. And so I just do know that they can sense that I have this self-protection device around myself, and they can sense that I can do that. And that's why they'll come near me, but they don't press their luck. And
do you think you could teach that to somebody else, or do you say you don't know how it works? Would that be fair to say?
I think you can teach people, especially. I was told by a parapsychologist that because I was scared so badly as a kid, that I was on the lookout for anything that, that monsters, okay? So my senses were always pinging. Even though there were ghosts everywhere, I was always on the lookout. And so my parapsychologist told me that was the reason why I kept my abilities sharp over the years, was I just stayed in tune because I didn't have, was scared to death, and I wanted to make sure that if I ever sensed something like that again, to go the other way as fast as possible, okay? And so I made sure of that, and that's when I learned that, not all ghosts were bad, and just because ghosts were around didn't mean other things were around, and that ghosts were, I hate to say it, mainly useless, okay? They just need to move on. They're just taking up space, all right, and it's no life for them, and that they cause a lot of problems for a lot of people rather than moving on. And and they need to move on, and that they can't even forgive themselves. Once God has forgiven them, I'm like, that's why the light's there. God loves you. God loves everybody. No matter how bad you are, God loves you. Okay, God wants you to be a good person, wants you to move on, wants you to learn your lessons, but you got to forgive yourself first. And that's what it's all about, and that's, is convincing ghosts. And everywhere I go, I say that every single day, because there are ghosts everywhere. Okay, there's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't stop and go, please just move on. Yeah, and they're always around me, okay, and I'm always doing it.
Are they around you because they know that you can help them move on?
I think so, okay. They just stick around me, especially children, I think one of the hardest places when you go to really large haunted places like Waverly Hills in Kentucky, the children are the hardest part, especially them. They're the ones that actually will leave full sentences, and will actually talk to you. They're not leaving like one-word messages. They actually leave full sentences and talk to you. And a lot of them sound happy. They just don't realize what's going on, really, truly what's going on. And that really hurts me the most, And so children have always been attracted to me, and because they can sense my goodness. And I try to help them move on, but they're the hardest ones to help because they don't understand. They really are confused, and, they kind of make this own little world of themselves. They see it differently than how we see it. The place looks the same to them, even though we're seeing a run-down building that's barely standing up. They remember what it used to look like, and they're happy. And it's like, oh, man, they're the most stubborn ones to try to get moved over, and then I'm still in the same situation I was before, where how do I help, ones that need to move on but quite aren't in spirit form yet, but are physically gone, and they're kind of stuck in limbo.
Yeah,
how do I
describe
get
that.
them moved on?
Gaylen, describe that, where they're not quite in spirit form yet. What do you mean by that?
Well, some, just... some people just are changed, okay, while they're still a physical person, okay. Something happened, something happened to them, okay. And because they've changed, and some of these monsters that, we might see out there, really aren't monsters. It's just, unfortunately, it's this image they have of themselves, and because they're still kind of stuck in a physical form, they can't move on toward the light, yet they're stuck in limbo. They're between our world and the next, and I don't know how to free them, to get them to move on spiritually when they're kind of still halfway stuck in a physical form. And I don't understand it.
This is one of those things that I haven't heard before, and I'm still a little bit confused as you're explaining it. You say they're still stuck in their physical form and they haven't quite moved on yet. What does that mean? They're actually a little bit, I want to say thicker, or a little. they're more here than they are ethereal and kind of spirit-like. They're actually more of a solid person.
Exactly. Okay, and it's weird. Okay, and so because of this form that they're in, they're not 100% physically dead, and they're stuck, and so they can't get moved on toward the light. And it's like, well, what do you do with them? How do you help them? And there's nothing. It's one of the puzzles I'm trying to solve, and I've been trying for years, trying to figure out how do you help the ones. And even though they're in this physical form, we can't see them anymore. It's almost like they're halfway there, and something happened to them. I don't know what, but it's almost like instead of the spirit leaving the body, it's almost like the body kind of phased out part way. Okay? And instead of having that release, they stayed melded together. Okay? And they're stuck. So they're actually, physical forms, and they're like ghosts. You can't see them but every so often, but they're truly not spiritual yet. It's almost like the spirit and the body are melded together, and it's not supposed to be that way. And it's one of the weirdest things about the paranormal I've encountered, and I can't figure out how to help.
You can, so if this person had died, maybe no one had found the body, or you think the body had been either cremated or buried or whatever they did with it, but they're still...
like attached to it somehow.
Yeah.
It's really like that. So like I said, it's almost like when this separation, when this body was supposed to die and the spirit's supposed to separate from the body and move on, it's almost like the spiritual took the physical being with it, okay, partly. But this physical being can't go through the light, the physical part of the body, and it's kind of like stuck in limbo. In this physical form that is phased out. We can't see it except for every once in a while, but because they're still stuck in a physical form, they can't move on. Like I said, it's like a melding, like they melded together and they weren't supposed to. And I don't know if it's because they had a sudden death that happened so fast. Like maybe the body was cremated and not found, and they just couldn't let go of it. Something like that's unnatural.
Yeah.
I know ghosts aren't supposed to be natural, but they are natural, but this
it's a natural.
Here, exactly. This right here is like unnatural. It's like a freak of nature. But it does happen. And I feel so sorry for them too.
Well, the two ghosts that I saw when I was a kid, they were in a car accident, and they were hopping in and out of the ambulance with their dad, in at the site and then out at the hospital. But their physical, their meat sacks are still in the car. That was, they were being removed, but their spirits went with their dad, and they're looking around like, gee, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But they didn't. And I could see them, and I don't think anybody else could, but I could see them, and they looked solid. They looked like real people. But then I found out years later that they actually passed in the car itself. It was very odd, but I don't see them as being connected. And they would have died very, very quickly. It was very, very quick. They would have still, they didn't know they had passed. They were still wandering around
fast like that. And you saw them and you feel sorry for them because they were confused, and lost for that moment. And this right here, it's like, it's these people, they look like, okay, Putty. Okay, you
nope.
have Putty and like Billy Putty.
I do, but one of those things that we're going to have to do now is I've got my last break as we end the third quarter and we're going into the fourth quarter. And again, if you have any questions about ghosts and these monsters that Gaylen sees, give us a call and ask her about it. 607-203-5344.
Want to find out what's coming up on the Spaced Out Radio Network? Go to spacedoutradio.com where you can find our daily list of shows and guests appearing throughout the week. Want to tell us your story? Be sure to sign up for the Spaced Out Forum for free. Maybe you have a psychic question. Drop in and say hi to Catherine in Cat's Corner. spacedoutradio.com, your 24-hour source for UFOs, ghosts, conspiracies, and more. Check it out today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
The Phoenix Lights, Roswell, secret military aircraft, flying saucers. Let's check out the sky together. Hi, this is Rich Giordano, host of the AZ UFO Show right here on the Spaced Out Radio Network. Every Sunday night at 7, we hit the airwaves to talk about the phenomenon of unidentified flying objects and more. We want to hear your stories. Maybe you've seen what many others have seen. Only one way to find out, the AZ UFO Show on Sunday nights on the Spaced Out Radio Network on spacedoutradio.com.
Need a break but don't have the time? Tired of life's running around? Hi, this is Jolene from Rivulet Relaxation and Readings. Let me help you in your time of need. From Reiki to realm readings, I can help provide you therapy for your mind, body, and soul. Check out my website at rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr. And if you're a listener of Spaced Out Radio, receive 10% off your first session. Rivulet Relaxation and Readings. And don't forget to give my Facebook page a like. It's time for you to make some important time for you.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio broadcasts 7 days a week? Tune in to me, Dave Scott, Monday through Friday starting at 10 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern, as Spaced Out Radio delves into the most arcane stories, from conspiracy theories to UFOs to weird animals running around our forests. Find us right here at spacedoutradio.com for the stories that will blow your mind. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Weekend host James Tyson can be followed on Twitter at James Tyson SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and join our free forum at spacedoutradio.com. And now, for the final time tonight, here's James Tyson.
Welcome back, everybody, and we have been with Gaylen Chauncey. She is a geomancer, which is basically a human EMF detector. On the break, she was saying, I don't want to scare you guys too much. So I think she's been holding back. So I said, go ahead. You know, we're going, it's Sunday, early Monday morning. Who wants to go to work this week? How about just scare the bejiggers out of us? Come on, Gaylen. Show us what you got. Now, I touched real briefly on the book, the Make-Believe in the Boogeyman Chronicles. That is a book that you wrote because of children who went through the type of event that you and your twin sister went through. And just so kids who have a similar gift that where they can see things and hear things, and you and a few other of our guests we've had on Spaced Out Weekend who do see these things, at least their parents can give them that book and say, you're not crazy. Things do go bump in the night, and some people can see them. And so could you describe what that book is really like? It's a children's guide to the boogeyman, or how would you describe it?
Well, what it is here, it is a story, okay? It's really a very adventurous book, okay? So what I did here was created a story. Every paranormal experience in the book is 100% true. So it has a beginning and end. But what I did was I created a story to where these kids were having these friends were having the same experiences that I was having as a kid, okay? And what I had done was they had nobody else to turn to, just like I didn't have anybody to turn to, except for each other, okay? And these kids do know something is going on, and something's scaring them, okay? And it was what I had learned, basically techniques and simple things that you can do to protect yourself, okay? Because you'd be amazed what light can do. When I help children who are scared by ghosts, it's a flashlight. It's their faith in that flashlight, okay? And it's how to set mouse traps underneath your bed. Simple things like that gives you a warning system that something's in the room besides you. Okay, that gives you enough time to turn on the light and be ready and not be surprised by something that's coming after you. What the story really is based on is the monster underneath the bed, because nobody would believe us that there was something else in the dark beside the ghosts. All right. And this is about how to deal with the boogeyman. Yeah, and it is a good adventure story because I made it into a story. Adults love it too. But it brought up, you wouldn't believe how many adults actually came up to me and told me it was like I took a page out of their memory. How many of them told me that they had the same experience. And I was like, really? Because I just didn't know that many adults I would run into would tell me that they dealt with something that was either underneath their bed or in their closet, and to this day, they swore it was real. Okay. Well, to me, it was like I don't want what happened to me or what almost happened to my sister to happen to anybody else out there. So I just took this, my experience created this adventurous story for these kids to read. And it is scary, but it's also showing how you can learn to be brave, okay, and learn to protect yourself. And as long as you can protect yourself, nothing can happen to you, okay, as long as you know how to protect yourself. And that's what this book was based on, going, you are not alone. These things do exist. And because your mom and dad don't believe you doesn't mean that you can't protect yourself. Okay, and this is how you protect yourself. And I wanted to do it because I felt like it was the right thing to do. I had to share it, so even if it helped one kid, it would be it, that I would help one kid. And I wanted to warn them.
No, excellent.
It blows my mind, the parents that, it blew my mind my parents didn't believe me. The frustration is what I remember more than anything else was being so frustrated with them because, they didn't believe me. And I didn't know about any of this stuff to make it up. I didn't understand it. I was trying to describe something the best I could, okay? And it was just my life-changing experience. And because it wasn't just this one incident, it just never stopped. Now, you talked about this Amy where she opens up and lets all that in. That's just something I've never done. I can feel them and I know they're there and I can protect and get evidence from them, but I don't ever open myself up to learn about them. It's something either I don't know how to do or just was never taught to do anything like that. But my job was to, to me, I am there to detect it. And is it bad or is it good?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a question from one of our listeners from Paranormal Into the Night, and she's asking if spiritual residue memory replaying over and over, or actual lost spirits who can't find their way out? When you have residual energy, it's in my experience. Can you see? Hold on a second. Residual energy. I know it is to being an imprint on time from energy. Usually some horrific thing like those soldiers going over the top in World War I in Belgium, where farmers have been seeing them, ever since World War I. But they're on a loop. And we've got photographs through my paranormal group, actually having photographs of a guy pushing a little hand truck out of an old storage room, which is now a restaurant. So that, have you run into that? Can you actually see the residual energy too?
Yeah. When I was doing an investigation one night, these two little boys were being scared in their bedroom, okay? And parents couldn't understand what was going on, okay? So, and you got to be devoted, because it never happens the first night you stay there. It never does, okay? So after several nights, I was finally awoken by what I was seeing, what they were seeing, okay? And I was shocked, and I see these two big men, and they were carrying this long box between them, and they were going from one end of the room to the other. And they totally ignored me. I wasn't there as far as they were concerned, okay? So I was like, well, what is that? And then all of a sudden, these candles lit up, and there were no candles in the room, okay? And these candles lit up, and I watched the men go all the way to the end of the room, and they disappear. And so when I was talking to the little boys, by what I saw, that's what they were seeing, and it was scaring them. Well, I did some research on the house and found out the house used to actually be part of a mausoleum, okay? So what the boys were seeing in the evenings was they were carrying a coffin. These two, I guess they were undertakers, and they were carrying a coffin out of the room. All right. And that's all it was. That's all it would ever record. It's all that would ever play. Okay. Well, the boys got moved into another bedroom. It became the storeroom and the problem. Okay, because I said it's imprinted in the house. It's just sometimes energy records something, and so they weren't really good because I wasn't feeling anything. My radar wasn't pinging or anything. They were not there, and so when I watched it,
And that's what we got. We there's places out here we've done investigations where they say the cook, there was a restaurant that was a Japanese restaurant back in the 30s, and the cook would go from the kitchen out and unlock the door or lock the door and then head back to the kitchen. And every so often people would see this guy. And it was because it was the repetitive that went on for years and years. And same with the guy with the little hand truck coming out of what used to be a storage room, except he was now probably 1/3 larger than he was back when that happened.
Wow.
We put a 6 foot tall woman there and compared her to the photograph, and this guy had feet that would have been like a size 20, and he was huge compared to her. But that was just the way he was kind of amplified on the photograph. Again, the soldiers, the World War I soldiers at Gettysburg, those people that they see the guy running from one tree to another tree. Well, that 17-year-old kid or 16-year-old kid, absolutely scared out of his wits, adrenaline just pumping, running from point A to point B. He could have actually lived through, he could have survived the Civil War, lived to be an old man, but he actually imprinted on that point that he was putting out. He was probably a high energy person, or what we call an empath anyway, somebody who's got higher than regular energy. And it was just percolating when he went from tree A to tree B, and that's the loop you see. And there are people out there that says, oh no, that's a ghost. Well, not if it's on a loop. And you cannot talk to those people.
Itself. And that's what it is, and they're not aware of me at all, and they totally ignore me, and I can't sense them. There's no soul
It's there's no spirit there. It's just an image that is there. And it happens, like especially in around very, very horrific things where there's an accident, a fire,
what it
like
is.
that. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Something that just this thing, like I said, this removing of the body by the undertakers. I must have, it just was a scene that was recorded and just kept repeating itself. And I'm like you, I think that fear. The energy is just right at this place, and it actually records it. I believe that a lot of places when people hear like billiards and people laughing and parties going on and there's nobody ever there, I think it's the same thing. It's recorded, that energy from that party, and they're just hearing it over and over again. But there are real spirits too, but these are the ones that definitely are aware of me, and I'm aware of them. Like you've encountered it, you can feel it, and see it, and know that this is not a recording. And you're going, okay, this is the real thing. Some people are just, I think, kind of just train themselves over the years to ignore it so much that it really scares them to admit that it's real, so they'll never admit it. Okay,
yeah. The farmers out in Belgium, it's one of those things that they've just grown up with. Like for over 100 years, they've had these things going out in the fields, and they just know that's what it is. They used to call them ghosts, but now they understand it's just old energy, and they still hear the cannon, the cannon blast. It's we had a guest on here who is a paranormal investigator, as you were. She is a psychic medium, a medium PI, helps police in England, and she said over in Britain there's an area where they can still see Roman soldiers coming down the road, except that they're only seen from the waist up, and like the road comes up to their waist, because when the Roman soldiers had been walking down that road, it was 3 feet lower than the road that now exists. So you see the upper torsos of these soldiers, Roman soldiers walking by, but they're on a loop.
Buildings. Yeah, it's like cities and buildings that they would see, that aren't there. Yeah, that's almost like energy is recorded, an image of a city or a building that's no longer there. It's the same thing. It just for some reason every once in a while it shows itself, but it's almost like a recording of something that used to be there. Yeah, and it's not there anymore. And it's the same with these. I don't know why the energy is just so strong at these particular places that imprint it, because I go to some places that are very high energy, a lot of ghosts, but they're all spirits. There's no imprinting there, But, I think one of the wildest things I've ever encountered is like you go to a haunted place, and have you ever laid your head on the pillow and you can hear the voices talking? Have you ever had that happen?
No, I was in Fort Worden down in Washington State, which was a U.S. Army fort from about 1905 to 1953, and we were staying in the officers' quarters, and we were sitting in the living room. There's no television or radio in the place, and we could hear two people talking as they were walking, and you could hear their footsteps walking down the hall. So we all kind of stopped, and we waited for them to come into the room, and nobody else was in the building. So, but I've never actually put my head down. It was completely haunted, that whole area.
On haunted places, like lay down in the bed and put your head on the pillow for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden you'll hear voices. Happened to me a couple times. I'll raise my head, can't hear a thing, put my head on the pillow, and you can hear the voices through the pillow. It's really wild.
That is creepy. One of the people in the chat room was asking, Mary Love Corey was asking if you had experiences with sounds like trucks. I think we covered that. I've had that. There are places out here, especially on the west coast of Canada, and Fort Worden being in Washington State, on a bit of a peninsula with the ocean in and out around it with the tides. There's so much energy there, absolutely so much energy. You have more and more opportunities to hear things. And there was a place in southern British Columbia on the tip of Vancouver Island. It's called Victoria, and very, very old community, old town. And when it's quiet, it's a smaller city, and at times it gets quiet, believe it or not, and you can still hear horses clip-clopping on the cobblestones, pulling wooden-rimmed wheeled wagons. And they haven't been doing that in Canada for weeks. Music wagons, no, but that's going back over 100 years, about 150 years ago. That's what was going on, but it was going on over and over and over and over again. Trucks, vehicles. There's another thing. Trucks going down a road that trucks specifically, because if you think about it, trucks may be on a route, and they will be traveling that route over and over and over for 50, 60 years. There'll be trucks on that route. Now, Amelia was asking too, is there a specific term to describe what you're talking, or what we're talking about, that spiritual energy imprint? Yeah, Amelia, it's called residual energy, and residual basically being kind of just leftover energy. And like I said, for the fellows, and it's very common. It was first kind of in North America, became popular with what they thought were ghosts in the battlefield at Gettysburg, which in fact there probably are ghosts there, but there's a lot of residual energy, and those people could have gone on to live a happy life and moved on, and but at that point in their life, they were so terrified. Imagine in the Civil War, you're 15, 16, 17 years old, and
scared
it's horrific. Yeah, you're not only your adrenaline is going nuts, but your fear is, I couldn't imagine it. That kind of like that in any war pre, 1920 would it's just carnage.
This is why ghosts like the fear the best. Why fear has the most energy. The fear can imprint itself into an environment and leave a recording behind. And this is why ghosts are so attracted to that fear from somebody.
Gaylen, we have a phone call for you. I'm just going to check it out. It's an 808 number. Hi, who's this?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hi, James. And hi, Gaylen. Really good show.
Hi.
I just want to ask you, there's some ghosts. I know you say that ghosts should just move on. God loves everyone, no matter what they've done, and they should just follow the light and go, forgive themselves and all that. But there seem to be ghosts that are looking for something, deal with ghosts like that. Like, for example, children. A mother, there's a legend on Stowe Lake in San Francisco where this mother's looking for her child, and she's still there looking for her child. So if she finds that child, can she just go on wherever the child would be?
Now, this is the most difficult part, okay? Waverly Hills and Santorium, Kentucky, it's the exact same problem I came across. I had a little girl, she's 8 years old, and she's on the bottom floor, okay? Her mother is in her room on the third floor. I could not get that mother to leave that room, even though she's looking for her child. She would not leave that room to go downstairs to get her child, nor could I get the child to go upstairs to her mother. They're in the same place, separated by one floor, and yet they're spending years looking for each other. Okay?
Odd.
Yes, and the kids, the children, are more so confused or lost, okay? And it's amazing that you can have a mother and child in the same house looking for each other, yet never finding each other. And because I can't get them to meet in the middle, all right? The children will talk to me. They'll ask me not to leave them behind, and I will try to get the mother to come downstairs, and I will listen to my recordings, and she'll say, I can't leave this room. And I think that at the time when they were in the place, they were separated on purpose, okay? And when they both died, they're still they're letting that separation still be real. And it's so sad to try to get a mother and child together, and that really does happen. You're luck out every once in a while and finally do get a mother and child together, but it's so hard. I fail 90% of the time. Okay, I wish there was something more I can do, but as the adult, I need to convince the mother, but sometimes there's this fear embedded in them that they just won't leave that room to go looking for their child, even though they are looking for their child. It's just sad. It is, and those are the ones I want to help the most because they're lost. They haven't done anything to be forgiven for. They're lost.
Yeah.
And children hang around schools. A lot of people don't understand there's a lot of ghosts in schools because children hang around with each other. And they're going to hang around at the school the most because that's what they usually remember the most, their friends, because they can't communicate with their family anymore, but they can communicate with other children. So a lot of schools have a lot of children, believe it or not, that are ghosts in the place because they hang around and they feel safe there. And they're just confused and lost. It breaks my heart. It does.
What would you suggest I do the next? Because I did see her once, and she wasn't, malevolent. She wasn't that. She was just so sad. And all I really could do was say a prayer, but,
The best thing that I would do is with a child, and this is one of the things I do, is I get the child a gift, a doll or something, and let this child know that this gift is from their mother, okay? And that's usually because all children love gifts, okay, even if you're a ghost, especially if you hadn't had a gift for years because you're a ghost, okay? A lot of times that's what I would do is try to open up that doorway a little bit, okay, and go, your mother wanted me to give you this doll, okay, she's right over there. Because a lot of times you're going to have an easier job to get the child to go to the mother than the mother to go to the child because she's more lost than the child is. All right?
Okay.
And prayers are everything. And it's just to get, to project this feeling of love. That helps so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, thank you, and have a wonderful time out in Hawaii, which I was with you.
Yeah, good luck with that. Let us.
Yeah. Dave's going to talk now. Well, sort of.
Thank you for listening to tonight's edition of Spaced Out Weekend. To reach Jim on Facebook, you can give our Spaced Out Radio Show a like. You can follow Jim on Twitter at James Tyson SOR and follow Spaced Out Weekend on our website, spacedoutradio.com. Now, for the final time tonight, here's James Tyson.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in with Gaylen Chauncey, and I want you to come back here tomorrow night, because tomorrow night's going to be fun with Dave Scott. I'm trying to remember exactly what he's got going on here, but it's going to be good because I've got 3 things, and I'm pretty sure he's not doing all 3.
And hey! Let's be careful out there.
Far over the snow, what are those voices? Angry wolves on the trail. We are after you, dead or alive. We are out to get you, dead or alive. And to get you soon. If you're the one, better run away. Son, you are done. Throw your gun away. Here come the Mounties to get the man they're after now.
and ahead of me. So she's like, I don't know, 6 p.m. there. Oh, I think I lost you. Oh, stand by. Are you there still? Gaylen? Drat. End episode.